our very best to minimize the impacts of sequester, but there's only so much I can do. You know, I'm supposed to have 34,000 detention beds for immigration. How do I pay for those?
And we don't even know who they have released and what they have been charged with. No one from the administration has contacted my Homeland Security Division. No one has contacted my office. No one has reached out. And obviously they don't know what the heck is going on because they didn't know anything about it either. Well, who's running this country?
They pose no risk to society, and they were not simply released into society, but rather they were placed in an alternative detention program, which has proven to be a very secure program with a success rate of over 90%.
This was a decision made by career officials at ICE without any input from the White House as a result of fiscal uncertainty over the continuing resolution as well as possible sequestration. All of these individuals remain in removal proceedings.
It's possible that some of them might not be brought back in.
Well, again, I would refer you to ICE. I don't think this is a conversation that I can help you with in the specifics.
Well, the other thing is, and it's been charged by several Republicans up on the Hill, that this is political tied to the immigration issue. And it's tied to the politics of immigration.
Well, if it is, I think it isn't really smart because a lot of people will disagree on what you do about the 11 million illegal aliens in the country, but I don't think anybody wants to empty the prisons of people who jump the border and are being held, and we don't really know how they're going to act. I think it's laughable to assume they're all going to show up under this alternate status, you know, and act like good citizens. Here are people who are multiple occasions have crossed the border, which means every time they've been deported across into Mexico, they tried again, and now that they are in the U.S. and released, the idea is they're going to show up and allow themselves to be rearrested. I think that's highly unlikely. But I think the major issue here isn't only will there be a lot of pain and disruption, but how will be the reaction of American people? My argument would be that people have a sense that the government is immensely wasteful, that they've heard about the GAO conference in Vegas, where you have the guy in the hot tub and the martini. They have an instinctive knowledge of what happens when you go to get your driver's license. It isn't as if everybody is, you know, acting snappily as in Jiffy Lube. It's a whole different proposition. People have this notion that if you're closing essential services, there has got to be a lot of bad faith in that you are deliberately doing that, whereas you've had a lot of choices. So I'm not sure it will translate immediately against the Republicans. I think it could actually redound against the administration if people imagine, as in this case, that they could be acting in bad faith and deliberately making things really bad.
Families do cut back, but they plan their reductions. They don't pull the rug out from underneath the college tuition for their kids. They don't kick grandma out on the street and put her in a homeless shelter. For some reason, we have half this chamber that only wants to work on one side of the equation. It's only about cuts, cuts, and more cuts, even though they are senseless, they are dangerous.
Generally, 2.5% can easily be cut across every program. It could even be 10%. But someone has to make a decision about which programs are effective and which ones are not effective.
In an animation, it's roughly $38,000 a second, as we told you the other day, that's being added to the national debt in the last year. $38,000 a second. But you know what makes people, the Jim Angle story, I said, makes people just so mad. The $6 billion on lessons about democracy and decision-making from fish. I mean, that kind of thing, Senator Coburn always points out, those kinds of things just make people infuriated.
And in fact, Senator Coburn asked the GAO to do a report on this ocean of waste and duplication. In 2011, I'll give you just a sampling, 18 programs on nutrition assistant, 82 for improving teacher quality, 47 for job training, 56 for financial literacy. It goes on forever. And it includes $1 billion that the government has sent in the last decade to 250,000 dead people. All in all, it amounts to 100 or 200 billion a year, which at the minimum is 2.5 times our domestic sequester. This is an ocean of waste, and we haven't even had a drop of it removed.
This has been a Sunfish production.